Noah traveled for several months on a self-promoted tour, playing his music at various open mic venues across the country.
I tried to book as many gigs and as many pay gigs as I could, but the booking process was extremely hard. I was able to book maybe 15 gigs, and a handful of those were paid. The open mic performances were really wonderful as well, because I think open mics are a really good barometer of the local scene. I think I was able to really learn a lot about music, the kinds of music that are happening all around the United States, and where the best places are for music, and all different kinds of music. And music it's a complicated thing, and it's not just about the technical ability. It's about the heart and soul of the person performing. And so there are certain areas that are cultivating authenticity, and there are certain areas that are conjuring wannabes. I was in one city one day and another city the next, and it was a very mentally tough, lonely experience, so memory is a little bit blurry. But I'll start with Arizona. I'll start with Flagstaff. Visiting Flagstaff, Arizona. The culture itself was just a slower pace, but there was a lot to do. It was a very active town. It's a college town, and there were some fairly quality college musicians that would perform locally. And even though there was a lot to do, the pace of the pace of life there was just slower. So it's very comfortable. I really, really liked Flagstaff. The open mic scene, it seemed like you got a mix of people that would come to it. It was a more low-key open mic scene, but it's not a big town. And I would say there was one guy that was there from the Canyons, and he was originally from Tennessee or something like that, maybe Kentucky. And he was going through issues with his wife, and he decided to go mull things over and work in the Grand Canyons. And so he went to Berkeley School of Music. And I don't know, the kinds of people that you meet at open mics, it's just, there's all sorts of stories. And so he was a talented harmonica player, and a really interesting guy, very depressed. But there he is in Flagstaff, Arizona. There was a grungy guy that's been doing the open mic scene in Flagstaff for a while, and he was very, very jolly, a little bit of brash, I guess. And I'd say a lower key open mic scene, a little bit disorganized, maybe not starting on time, stuff like that, but interesting. I think the people were interesting. They seemed pretty authentic, and there was a lot of potential there, I would say. New Mexico played a gig, and it was a cool gig. It was at Santa Fe Brewing Company. Green or red? That's the sentence. Everyone asks you green or red, and the answer is Christmas. And that's about chili. New Mexico is really famous for chili, and people were in good spirits. Yeah, pretty big town. Austin, messy, egocentric, unprofessional. Austin was one of the hardest places for me to just find a functioning open mic. Believe it or not, it's considered the live music capital of the world. At least that's what it's purported to be, probably by other people from Austin. I won't tour to Austin anymore if this interview goes out to people in Austin, but I was not impressed. New Orleans is badass. Can I say that? Maybe you'll edit that out, but that's the word that comes to mind for me to describe it. It's dirty, it's smelly, it's rough around the edges, and more than that, but it has amazing music. The musicians are fantastic, and it's just oozing musicians, and I would prefer it to Nashville in some ways. There's great talent in Nashville, but New Orleans has a unique spice. It's really cool. Cocoa Beach, and I thought Cocoa Beach was interesting. Cocoa Beach is a small town on the East Coast, and it had a place called Open Mics, and that's M-I-K-E, as in the owner's name was Mike, and he called it Open Mics, and it had a lot of musicians. They had music basically every night of the week, and it kind of blew me away for such a small town. They had cultivated a really cool thing there. It was in the third month where I started to think about wrapping it up. I had initially planned to do, I think, 9 months, maybe 8 or 9 months of touring, and I planned to go all through Canada and up to Alaska and all through the northern United States as well. There were a number of things that were tough. One, I was on a very limited budget, and I was spending money too quickly. I wasn't making money. I was losing money. So that's a very important factor. I just couldn't afford to do it anymore. And then also it was cold. I did it in the winter, and even when I was in the South, still nights were cold. I was sleeping in the van, and I'd put my recording studio in the van, and it was, I'm sure it was hard on the gear, but some nights were very, very cold. I'd wake up in the morning with frozen butt cheeks, no lie. And let's see, it was exhilarating. My drive into Baja California was fantastic. I had an amazing experience with the Federales. And I had so many amazing experiences. So it was riveting in ways. It was an experience of a lifetime. I'm so glad that I did it. And and then also it became lonely. And the way that it gets monotonous is, it's day after day. It's a new town. I don't know if Lorenzo Gigliotti is of Jupiter 2.0. Maybe some people that are listening will know that. He has a song that talks about in a new town tomorrow with new faces that all look the same. And it's amazing. I don't know if some people might take offense to this, but you start to see the same characters in every place. It's like you think you know unique people, and you start to see a lot of the same patterns in behavior or just people. There's so many people in the world, and it's just, there's a lot of people that are very much alike. And so I would feel like I met many of the people. I could pick them out, like, that's so-and-so from Long Beach, or that's so-and-so from wherever. And now they're it's not the same person. I can tell it's not, but it's like they walk like them, they talk like them, they wear the same clothes. It's like, I just keep, I don't know what conditions brought about these people to be very similar to one another, but just it showed me how big the world is. But on a personal level, when you're a stranger to a town, people people know that you're leaving the next day, or you're only going to be around for a little bit. It's inviting in a way, and it's also very lonely in a way, because people are maybe more open to you because they know you're going to leave. But at the same time, they have no intention to maintain long relationships. So it was very hard to make any kinds of real friendships. It was just, so I just found after a while, it was very cold, a very cold experience. People aren't very warm to strangers. So after months of doing that, of experiencing the coldness of how people treat strangers, and being completely alone, yeah, it wears you out. I think probably the road in general is hard, whether you're making money or not. I think if you're making money, like, I can only imagine, but say I were sponsored tomorrow to do a major tour where I'm opening for a major artist or something like that. I think people are drawn to fame. They're drawn to success, people that are successful. So I just think with strangers, you just get a very shallow experience for the most part. I can have like an in-depth conversation with somebody, but to the extent that they're actually going to follow me or stay in touch with me, I didn't find that. So I think having my wife along would make a big difference. I think that yes, I would be inclined to bring somebody else with me next time. But even then, it's tough. Just being on the road is tough. Day after day, everything you know changes. You're in a totally new context where what you know is very limited. It's just the amount of things that are consistent in your life when you're on the road. It's just you and your van. Those are like the things that are consistent. Everything else is just like shifting around you, and so it's, yeah. I've taken a lot of risks, and I've been really bold with how I live my life, and I have things to share, and I'm open, and I'm honest, and I work really hard to create vulnerable art and be honest with but I haven't had support in terms of people coming out to see my shows. And I just thought more people would be interested in what I'm doing and be interested in what I have to share. I've started to have like some ideas of why, and I think LA is a tough town. There's a lot of crime. It's just hard to make a living, and I can't be the only one that's experiencing that and experiencing the insecurity of the threats of violence or that are here, and that, you know, when you put Noah Grove's story of traveling on the road and making music and trying to succeed at music next to I need to pay my bills and I need to make sure I don't get shot walking in the bad part of town, and you know, the very real things that I think people don't really talk too much about here. My story kind of pales in comparison to that. Maybe people just don't have the attention, the time or attention to give to me, or my story is just not that appealing or something. But yeah, it's been disappointing. So I've just sort of I'm not worrying about it too much, and I'm just gonna keep making my music, and I'm finding more opportunities that are paying me. So at least at this time, I still get to do what I want to do, and I'm getting paid to do it. So hopefully I can. Yeah, it is what it is. That's the opportunities I have.